Well, I was given a big hint as to who West Virginia's starting quarterback for 2025 is going to be. Let's talk about that, man.
You are Locked On West Virginia, your daily podcast on the West Virginia Mountaineers, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
And what is up? Welcome back in, guys. My name is Mountaineer Paul, and I am your host. This is Locked On West Virginia, baby. Let's talk some football, enjoy the weekend, and have some fun on this episode where we're talking the West Virginia quarterback situation. As you guys know, I had Jaylen Henderson on this very show about a week ago, and very nice. Enjoyed the conversation with him. Got to know him on a personal level just a little bit more, and liked what I heard. Obviously, know about a lot about his background, how he came up, how he wasn't highly recruited coming out, different things like that, and how he kind of, without playing a game, come up to the Power 5 level at Texas A&M, just like that. So there's a lot on that plate over there that I was really interested in. We know Nicco Marchiol's story. It's a much different story. It's a Elite 11 quarterback. It's a almost 5-star player, a guy that beat the number one team in the country, throwing up on the football on national television, and was a crowning gem of any recruiting class. So two different ways of coming up here, although Jaylen eventually did experience the Texas A&M treatment where he was an SEC quarterback. So let's talk about this situation, because not only was there a hint dropped in the national media not even a week ago that some of us missed. I decided not to do anything on it at the time. But now that I've got this information, we're going to go ahead and run with this. We're going to talk about that. And then the all-freshman team. I think we're going to rank freshmen today, man, because we talked about dudes yesterday. Let's talk about the diaper dandies, as Dickie V would call them today. Who are some diaper dandies on this team that could make an impact? That's going to be fun to talk about as well. So thank you guys for joining in. Hope you are buckled up and ready to roll. Thanks for making Locked On West Virginia your very first listen, guys, and being a part of the Locked On Podcast Network. We talk about your team every single day. This episode is going to be brought to you by Game Time, of course. That's right. Get to Game Time, download the app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONCollege to get $20 off your very first purchase. All right, let's get into this. So first things first, here's what we're going to do. I'm going to share a screen, and I want to give Skylar Callahan and company a shout out here, because this is where I'm getting this from. It's on X. I guess I could probably watch it there too, but this is just where I found it fastest. And so let's roll over there first. Okay. So everybody probably saw this interview with Pat McAfee and Pete Thamel last week, but let's play the clip for those of you that may not know what he said.
Yeah, big turnover numbers wise this year for Rich, and we'll see if your friend Nicco fits what he wants to do long term, right? I think Nicco will be is a very good player and a good starter there, but we know how Rich wants to go.
Has that been announced? Is that the starter? Is Nicco? Did he tell you Nicco's the starter?
He didn't.
Okay, let's stop it there. He goes on to say he did not tell him that. And some view that as little damage control on Pete Thamel's part, like, oh, shoot, Freudian slip? No, not a Freudian slip. Indeed, maybe he was told that. He spent a lot of time with Rich Rodriguez, I'm sure, off camera before the show. I don't know how much time. And so a lot of people started to wonder, okay, is Nicco the guy? Because at the end of the day, we just had Pete Thamel, who breaks all the news, who knows everything. Think about this, guys. Pete Thamel knows who the favorite in the room is for West Virginia's starting quarterback job. I promise. He does. And that doesn't mean we do. But if that news happens, he'll probably be the guy that breaks it, or Pat McAfee, right? So that was a strike in that favor. And then since that day, which was a week ago today, I know for a fact, because it was last Friday. It was almost like, gosh, is this a Friday news dump is what I was thinking in my head. And so I started putting in some work, man. And I've spoken to, as of now, 11 separate players. Okay. So I've spoken to 11 separate players on the roster, and obviously they have to remain anonymous in this for this one. I've got some quotes. I've got some opinions to go with this. And so you guys just kind of take this for what you will. So I had one player tell me the ball just looks different coming out of Nico's hand this year. He's made huge strides in the passing game and is a very willing runner. That's a quote. When asked and pressed about who is winning the job, it's actually pretty close, but I would lean Marchiol is what was said here. So there's one, right? And so here I asked for another guy. He said, to me, it's got to be Nicco because of the loyalty, man. If he's not rewarded for this loyalty in this era, then what good is it to stay somewhere for as long as he stayed somewhere? That's a quote. So I was like, oh, man. So it sounds like maybe the team is on Nico's side, you know? So I thought, okay, because here's the thing. Obviously, a lot of these guys have some of these guys that I'm telling you about here have been at West Virginia with Nicco. So I thought maybe there's some bias at play here. Let me get to some guys that maybe don't know him as well and just see the competition for what it was over the spring. Because if you've been with Nicco for however many years he's been there now, there's gonna be some bias. There just is, guys. And I'm not mad at him for it. I don't blame him for it. You know how it is when you want somebody to succeed or you feel like somebody deserves something, it can cause you to see things through certain colored glasses and maybe just exaggerate it a little bit. So I went to a couple defensive players and I got some different answers, man. And here's a really good one from somebody that'll not likely, is most for sure going to be a starter on this defense. To me, Jaylen Henderson is just a cut above. Extremely slippery runner and is a good passer. So that, and obviously I'm paraphrasing some of this because these are text conversations. So I had to kind of break these down into basically what they said, right? So because if these sound a little bit more vanilla, that's why. But so because the actual conversation was man, he's elusive, he's really hard to tackle in practice, that kind of thing. So there was one for Jaylen, right? And then I moved on to another player, a defensive lineman, who said this: Jaylen Henderson is much faster than people give him credit for. Max Brown, too, for that matter. Nicco has a lot of upside, but I think he stayed a little bit stuck spinning his tires over the last couple of years. I haven't seen a lot of improvement. So I don't know. There's a knock against Nicco and another one for Jaylen and some for Max. So I'm like, okay, so there's a lot of things going on here. And then I got to one more guy. This is an offensive lineman who has been around for a little while. And he said this: Nicco Marchiol will be an all Big 12 player this year, if not more. So, there's a lot of opinions on this team, and it started making me wonder, could there be some divisiveness involved here? Or, I'm sure everybody will follow suit, whoever Rich Rod picks, but it kind of leads you to think that maybe Nicco is in the lead. I certainly can't say that I've heard it from Coach Rod, obviously, or any of the coaches for that matter. This is what players think. And what players think isn't what necessarily will or should happen. If players had anything to do with anything, Garrett Green would have been starting a long time before he did. So, because I had those same conversations when JT Daniels was a quarterback. It was obvious on the team that he pretty much peaked at Virginia Tech, So, unfortunately, that's just wasn't, Neil Brown was staying with his guy. So, I say this all the time. Coaches don't always get it right. Sometimes the best guys in the room, and you don't know it, I use Madam Bednarik as a great example. Obviously, we all had Bednarik that year, and then Pat White came in against Louisville, and the rest was history. So even Rich Rod has chosen the wrong quarterback in the past. But I think, I wanted to look back on this and try to look at it with fresh eyes a little bit. So let's get to a breakdown of both of these players coming out, because we're going to do it after the break. We're at 10 minutes. So let's go to break. On the other side, we're going to break down just who both these guys were, what the scouting takes work on them coming out, what the scouting takes were. I've been working on this for hours today, if you can't tell. What the scouting takes were on them after they came out of college. Have they differed? What have they gotten better or worse at? That kind of stuff. So stick around, guys. And I got a couple more player opinions here. We'll get to those too. I didn't want to give them all to you in the first segment. This is Locked On West Virginia. We'll be right back. And this episode of Locked On West Virginia is going to be brought to you by none other than Wayfair. We talk about Wayfair because the days are getting longer. The weather's warming up and people are spending more time outside, which means it's the perfect time to produce and refresh your outdoor space. Whether you're working in your big backyard or a small balcony or just a porch like I got, Wayfair has everything you need to make you feel more like, you. Wayfair's massive selection of outdoor essentials makes it easy to transform any space into your ideal summer setup, from a comfy conversation set to sleek dining tables and outdoor decor. They've got it all at the right price that fits your budget. The delivery fee is free and hassle-free, even for the big stuff. So whether you're entertaining guests or relaxing solo, shop Wayfair to help you unwind. Shop a huge selection of outdoor furniture online, guys. This summer, get outside with Wayfair. Head to wayfair.com and go to Wayfair today. Don't do it now. Do it yesterday. Wayfair. Every style, every home. I'll tell you, Wayfair ought to just start paying me by themselves to start doing that ad read. Tell you. All right, so segment 2, and I'm going to Baja blast my ass into the sun on this next segment as we talk a little bit more about this, because I'm going to let John Gruden. Nothing gets me fired up like talking quarterbacks, right? Why did he? I don't know if that's good enough for John Gruden. I tried to tag Rim Baker today. West Virginia needs to send John Gruden a box. If you go to follow John Gruden on social media, however you feel about him publicly or personally or whatever, I like the guy. I love his passion for football and how he was the greatest Monday night color man ever, outside of Madden maybe. By the way, have you guys seen Nick Cage is playing John Madden? Just an odd – go look at the pictures of Nicolas Cage dressed up as John Madden if you get time. But, I think it'd be cool if we sent a box to Gruden. Like, he's opened them up from anybody from South Alabama to Stanford. He gets them from everywhere all across the country, and he names all players that is great from the school, because you got to think about this, man. He coached in the NFL for decades, and you want to talk about having to remember players? Imagine if you got these – huge profiles on everybody in the draft every year. You know how many players you would remember? And so that's kind of like I am. Actually, one of the best games I am at is naming where players went to college. As a matter of fact, I never met anybody that could ever beat me for a long time in my home area. And then once I ventured outside of that, I met some people that were really damn good. But I'm bouncing around here. But, one of the best games I am at is name a player, and I can tell you where they went to college, right? That's just something I've always been good at. Obviously, my obsession with sports has a lot to do with that. So anyway, let's get to this breakdown. This breakdown is brought to you by Mountaineer Paul. Nicco Marchiol. We all know he played in Arizona. He's originally from Aurora, and then he relocated to Chandler, where he was as a junior. Ken Marchiol is his dad, who I have met and spoken to a couple of different times. Very nice guy. Owns a battery company, I believe, or does something with batteries. Obviously he played at Jesuit his freshman and sophomore year, but then he moved to Hamilton, guys, where he was really good in Chandler, Arizona. 6'3", 216 in high school. And in high school, his senior year, 2,100 yards, 32 touchdowns, and 1 interception, 74.4% completion percentage, rushed for 240 yards and 4 touchdowns. And he had some big games, including a win over ranked Centennial High School, where he was 15-25 for 253 tutties and no picks for 133 quarterback rating. He was the Ed Doherty Award for best high school football player in Arizona. He was the Arizona Gatorade Player of the Year, Max Preps Arizona Player of the Year, the National Football Foundation's Frank Kush Award in 2021, a 4-star recruit per 247 Sports, the 23rd best player in the country. Rivals had him ranked 4 stars and 14th best. Scouting takes were, at the time, described as a pro quarterback with excellent pocket mobility, strong, accurate arm, smooth throwing motion, adept at dropping passes over defenders, fades in the end zone, etc., and also an effective runner when pulling the ball down, making him a dual threat. Excellent decision maker. Only threw a couple of picks in his entire high school career, with fluidity in the pocket, rarely overwhelmed by pressure, improvises well when the play breaks down, and makes plays with his legs. He was also noted for needing to develop and adjust to the faster speed of the game. And that projected redshirt year was probably dead on, because he wasn't even ready 2 years ago, really. He did initially commit to Florida State. I remember that, because I remember seeing some videos about us flipping him from Florida State, basically, even though we didn't. He went on business to Arizona State, Michigan State, and WVU before committing to WVU. So, and he had all kinds of offers, guys. Redshirted that freshman year, we know. So how did he do once he got into college? Well, we kind of know that history, right? Obviously, he redshirted that freshman year. In his redshirt freshman year in 23, he played in 9 games and started 1 at Texas Tech, where he was 6-9 for 60 yards and relief injury of Garrett. And he was 12 of 21 passing for 78 yards and 2 interceptions in his very first start. So overall, he was 2-0, though, with significant snaps. Last year, 2024, he played in 8 games, and he did start 1. 37-56, 434 yards, 5 touchdowns, 3 picks. Did rush for 285 yards and 3 touchdowns. Only a 66% completion percentage. Interesting. His obviously standout game was against Arizona, and that's the one a lot of fans will point to as this is what he could be. I think it was a mixture of that was his home state. Everybody he knew was in the stands. And he really put on a good show. 18-22, which is an 81% completion percentage for 198 yards, 2 touchdowns, and led us to a win. We didn't miss any 4th down conversions that game. I'll never forget that either. Then Kansas State was a bad game for everybody. 6-14, 58 yards, 9 rushes for 0 yards. Oklahoma State, he threw a touchdown pass. What does his career look like? 58.2% completion percentage, 742 passes, 8 touchdowns, 5 picks, 285 rushing yards, and 3 touchdowns. But he's 4-0 as a starter. He's beaten Texas Tech, Pitt, Arizona, and Oklahoma State. So interesting road he's been on. It's not gone like to plan for him, right? It's not where he thought he would be, I don't think, at this point in his career. I think he probably expected to play sooner. Most people probably expected him to play sooner, and he hasn't. But this is the year for him, right? A lot of people think. So, I think it's safe to say he may even be the front runner in some capacity. If you're looking at this from an outside looking in type view, he's like Pete Thamel says, he's kind of the incumbent, right? He played behind Garrett, but it's a new system, right? So it's like equal footing with Jaylen and even Max to some extent. So, I look at that completion percentage, even with an 81% game on your resume, 58.2 is abysmal. It's got to get better. And that's one of my big fears for Nicco is like, you've had significant snaps now. You've started in 4 games. 58.2, I'm not going to say that's where you're at. Certainly you can improve. And West Virginia hasn't had the best skill talent lately either. That's also a thing. And, we were more of a running team, but that can't be it's got to come up almost 10%, really. Like that's where we needed to come up 10%. So that's like one of our biggest worries for him because him coming out, he's supposed to be an accurate passer. He hasn't always displayed that. But also, like I said, we haven't had the greatest skill talent either. We had a great offensive line, So, where Neil Brown said this about him, and I got this quote I wrote down. He's a winner that's won at every level, at every sport that he's ever played, whether it's baseball, wrestling, or football. Nicco Marchiol just wins. I'll say this too, because Coach Rodriguez said this. Listen, man, I don't need any more quarterbacks, right? If Nicco Marchiol wasn't any good, that wouldn't be the case, right? If Jaylen Henderson wasn't any good, that wouldn't be the case. So we'll talk about next. Speaking of Jaylen Henderson, we'll go to break and we'll talk about him next. Stick around. This is Locked On West Virginia. And this episode of Locked On West Virginia is going to be brought to you by Game Time, guys. There's nothing like the NBA playoffs because of the intensity, the buzzer beaters, the fans losing their minds. It's kind of like that atmosphere that your friends tell you about, but you've never experienced live. Well, this year's matchups are already delivering. So if you want in, Game Time makes it easy and fast to get seats even for the biggest playoff games. Prices on the app are actually dropped closer to tip-off, which is contrary to popular belief. Killer last-minute deals available. Panoramic seat views, no surprise fees at checkout. Game Time is that total game changer that you need. And look, you're going to find seats for as low as $100 thanks to exclusive discounts. And with Game Time guarantees, your tickets are 100% authentic, guaranteed to arrive on time. And you're always going to get the best price with fees included. So you don't have surprise fees at checkout. So what you see is what you pay. And if you've ever never used Game Time to grab NFL seats, now's the time because it's seriously a game day upgrade. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your very first purchase. Terms are going to apply, but create your account, redeem the code LOCKEDONCOLLEGE for $20 off, and download the Game Time app today for last-minute tickets, lowest prices, guaranteed, and ask yourself the question of questions. What time is it? It's game time. All right, guys, as we roll into segment 3, I'm going to get a drink and Baja blast my ass into the sun again as we bring in Jaylen Henderson to the conversation. He's in the mix, no doubt about it. And look, like I said, I've got a couple other quotes here. So this is about Jaylen Henderson. One of the running backs said, sneaky fast, sneaky elusive, great decision maker. He's my pick for the job. So there's another point for Jaylen Henderson. And then one other one said, this is the last one. I can't make a choice right now. I need to see what happens during the summer. They're both capable of starting in the Big 12. So a bunch of different players feel differently about this battle. And I think it's going to be fun to see how it plays out. Certainly the Thamel thing makes me wonder, was that a bit of a slip? Not a Freudian slip, because I think a Freudian slip is like something that you secretly want to happen, but you accidentally blurt out. So that wouldn't really work in this case, but it was a slip, right? And I don't know if that's just based on his own expectation internally, or if he had been told something and it kind of slipped out during conversation. It's a fascinating look in on what may be the case here. That said, Jaylen Henderson, let's talk about him because, look, man, you want to talk about a dog. How did this guy go from basically unranked in California? He had a bunch of offers, his dad told me. Coming out of high school, he had like 30 offers. So I think a lot may have been G5 type offers, but he had a lot of offers. It wasn't like he wasn't recruited. And Fresno State made sense because they're from California. He played at Chaffee High School, which is in Ontario, California. He's the same size as Nicco, 6'3", 220. Obviously that Fresno State gig was really weird because I just can't get off this. How do you go if you're talking about in the world of NIL, Texas A&M is right there in the top 5 of ability to pay you, right? And especially under Jimbo. And maybe they were number 1 under Jimbo for sure. And also they had the best coaches in a lot of cases, the best scouts, like a lot of good things they had. And when I talked to him, he said, look, they found me in the portal. They did their research and found me in the portal. It wasn't like Jaylen sent him an email and was like, hey, you should check me out. So how did this kid that had never played at Fresno State because of Jay Kaner, who had the picture like this for the Saints the other day, that cracked me up, in a very serious topic at that, on the heels of Derek Carr's retirement. Jay Kaner's in this little pose. But so, Jay Kaner, very good player, 4th round NFL pick. He got to learn behind him, and I'm told there was some practice film, and the Texas A&M SEC Aggies said, I need that guy. Never played a snap. Like 99.9% of the time, you have to have snaps at the G5 level, and you have to have tape. He had almost neither. And Texas A&M said, yeah, we still want you. That's just rare. It just doesn't happen. And I don't understand it, but I'm glad it happened for him because they found a good player. He started 5 games there. So let's look at his history a little deeper. He was a 3-star coming out and ranked as a mid-tier quarterback prospect, and how wrong they were there. Scouting takes were this. One said he's an athletic, dual-threat quarterback with a bigger build than most dual-threat quarterbacks at 6'3", and a more physical running style than expected at first glance, compared athletically to quarterback Anthony Richardson from Florida. So as a runner, that's a very, very good comparison. Capable of explosive plays with his legs, which could fit in well with Rich Rod's offense that emphasizes dual-threat quarterbacks. This is a portal scout's take. Passing ability is solid, but not elite. Needs to improve completion percentage and consistency to win starting roles. I couldn't tell if this was out of high school or in college or when that one was. And this is another high school one, seen as a career backup with potential to blossom into a star if giving an starting opportunity in the right system. It's an interesting backhanded kind of take there. So he goes to Fresno State, transfers to Texas A&M, where so he did play sparingly in 2 years at A&M, or at Fresno, actually 5 of 8, 49 yards, and rushed for 70 yards on 14 carries. So I guess there was some tape of him at Fresno. He played in 5 games at Texas A&M. We know that. Became the team starter. Was on fire to end the year for them, and then got injured in what was called a hemorrhage. Sorry if I'm saying this wrong, but it's spelled Hemerus, I think, a humerus fracture or something, humerus fracture or something like that. Kind of a serious fracture where he, and that happened against Oklahoma State of all teams, as a matter of fact, in a bowl game. But 53 is 78. So that's 68% completion percentage, quite a bit better than Nicco, to be honest here. It's 10% better than Nicco, right? And about the same amount of snaps. 715 yards, 6 touchdowns, 2 picks. So he's also taking care of the ball better against some better competition. I mean, it's the truth. And he's rushed for 104 yards and 2 touchdowns. I personally think they're very close as runners. Nicco is, once he gets moving, is very fast. But he doesn't get there extremely fast, and he doesn't have a ton of agility. He's kind of like a Tim Tebow. I say this all the time. As a runner, he's very comparable to Tim Tebow. I don't know if he's going to be as great as Tebow was. Tebow is one of the greatest running quarterbacks ever. But, like, that's what he is like, a lumbering, physical, can run you over, and if he gets in the open field, can really get. Like, Nicco can really run. Jaylen is much different. He is way faster than people realize. Like, I don't understand how people look at his tape and think that he's slow in any way. Like, there is tape of him at A&M outrunning people for 30, 40 yards to the end zone where he's beating people that are coming at him at angles. I just think he takes these long strides. You know, it's kind of like Pat White. You wouldn't know he's running as fast as he is because of those big, long strides. Now, I'm not saying he's Pat White at all. I'm just saying, like, it's kind of similar. He doesn't look as fast as he actually is, and he's more elusive. You know, he's in and out more than Nicco. So they're different, but I think that, like, they're both can be just as effective as one another. And so, you know, like I said, I'm not here to disparage either, really. Like, I tried to bring you guys the takes for both because I think they both have a lot to offer. I really, truly do. And I've said this multiple times. For the program, it might be better for Nicco to win it because I think he would stay if he was successful. I don't know that about Jaylen. I'm not saying Jaylen would jump, but West Virginia would probably have to pay him to stay. And that's right. I'm not saying that's wrong either. I'm just saying Nicco, I think, would be more apt to take a hometown discount at this point, is all I'm saying here. And I don't know that for a fact. Maybe Jaylen would too, but I don't want to speak for him. And I feel like I can say that for Nicco because he's proven that. So, you know, let's go with strengths and weaknesses for both here. So they're both dual threat skills set players, right? One's the physical running style. The other has a little bit more of an explosive running style. Both have Power 4 experience. Both have some issues throwing the ball, I think. You know, at this point in his career, Jaylen's proven to be a bit more accurate, but I do think Nicco has a bit more tightened up form at this point in time. And it looks like he's been working on his game a lot. It's hard for me to tell who has the stronger arm now. I think they're pretty similar there. Like, it's really close between them. I really do believe that. But, you know, I do think at this point in time, up until we see more, I think that Jaylen wins the accuracy battle. And I also think he's faster. But Nicco may work more like a Huff, who's more physical like he did last year for Jackson State. So I think it's a close battle that only because he's the incumbent, Nicco may be in the lead now. But I'm sticking to my guns on it, guys. I've told you since the beginning, you know, although I've walked it back a little bit, I still feel like Jaylen Henderson, I think there's a path for him to win this job. And I have a lot of belief in him, especially after meeting him. And that's just my opinion. You know, I just want whoever wins to win the job. That's the truth. So, you know, Marchiol's edge is this. He's got mostly game experience at West Virginia, 12 games. He's 4-0 as a starter. He's undefeated. He's proven winner in high-pressure situations. He's familiar with the program and the fan base support, right? But Henderson may be a better fit in this dual threat offense due to his athleticism and running ability being just a little bit better, in my opinion. I also think he has higher upside if he can refine his passing game. So, you know, we'll see what it comes down to. But this is a fascinating conversation. I absolutely love both these kids and want them both to succeed. And I won't be mad no matter who wins. But it's going to be really fun to see. It's going to be fun to see. Let's talk about some freshmen really quick. I've got a list. Let me go down this. Oh, I got to show you this too before we go. Let me get back to the quarterback thing for a second. I'm going to share a screen with you. There it is. Some quarterback rankings came out today. West Virginia ranked 14th. Jaylen Henderson versus Nicco versus Max Brown. We might as well take Max Brown out of this. But although I do think He's got a shot to be very good. You guys, I showed you some tape yesterday of Brown. He's got a lot of talent, man. But that 46.2 completion percentage is so bad. So bad, man. Goodness gracious. That's got to get better. The Mountaineers are on the first team on this list that could go deep into the fall to evaluate their quarterback option before choosing a starter. It's a true competition in Morgantown. Marchiol is only holdover from last season before Rodriguez came in as head coach, while Henderson and Brown are transfers. Marchiol started 2 games last year and won both, while Henderson didn't play at all last season due to injury. He started the final 4 games for Texas A&M in 2023, accounted for 8 touchdowns and 2 interceptions while showing his abilities as a passer and runner. At this point, Brown seems a bit further back to the race to start week 1. That's a pretty good – I mean, that's about right. I don't think they went into much depth here, but 14th, Tom. And to show you how much they know, they've got Hoss Haney down here at 16. So if anybody here knows who Hoss Haney is, I guarantee you, I'll bet anybody $100 right now, Hoss Haney is not the 16th best quarterback in this league. Guarantee you that. So I just want to put that out there too, even though I'm not an Oklahoma State guy. But you go turn on the Hoss Haney tape and come back to me. He's got a chance to be the best quarterback in the league. Now, will he be it next year? I'm not saying that. He ain't the worst. Okay, let's get off this page, and I'll go over some of these freshmen here. Okay, so here are our freshmen. Scotty Fox, Max Anderson, Tashawn Dews, Armani Weaver, Cam Pittsburgh, Philip Bowser, Brandon Hamady, Jameer Davis, Trevor Bigelow, Brandon Caesar, Wilson Telemack, Taylor Brown, Carter Zuliani, Michael Hasty, Cameron Torber, Julian Horton, Chris Filippo, Tyrell Russell, Dwayne Galloway, Charmarius Bomar. Those are all of the freshmen for West Virginia this year. And then redshirt freshmen are Khalil Wilkins, Dior Hubbard, Robbie Martin, Josh Isosa, Andreas Hunter, Raymond Kovalevsky, Griffin Fogel, Quentin Goins, Ashton Woods, Jason Cross, and Caden Seller. I've decided to throw them in because it's just a little bit too difficult to do a list with just the freshmen. So let's start off with Dior Hubbard. We know all about the offseason he had. I mean, it was insane. Like, them guys at the running back room better keep their eyes wide open for Dior Hubbard because he had maybe the best spring of anybody in the whole program. So we heard his name a lot, especially from Rich Rod. If we're talking about kids that can make an impact this year, I think you got to say Robbie Martin has a chance. I don't think he will. Same with Isosa. I don't think he will either. I think these guys are the future, but they're guys to keep an eye on. Ashton Woods is another one, right? So is Jason Cross. So I like those guys for sure. And then in the true freshman room, Scotty Fox, bar none. What I didn't tell you was when I was talking about the quarterbacks, this is a true thing. I might as well should I do a whole video on it though? I'll be honest, guys. I almost want to do a whole video on this, but I'll just give you a little bit. There is a lot, not just a couple, a lot, over a dozen that I talked to that believe Scotty Fox is the future of this program. And it's not like there's a few that think they should just go ahead and put him in. So, I've been told by a few people, and here's the thing. One of the transfers that came in last week or the week before last hadn't even got to campus yet. And on his visit, the player he heard about was Scotty Fox. So I'm telling you now, Scotty Fox is the future of this program. And there are a lot of people inside the building that don't just they love Scotty Fox. So, is he the Pat White waiting in the wings and as a freshman? I don't know. He's probably a year away. Next year, I would be very, very hesitant to not bet on him. So That's the number one pick of everybody on the list for me. Now, I don't think he'll make an impact this year, but Scotty Fox is an absolute stud in the making, from what I'm told. And I need to go watch more of his tape. I've watched some of it. Very impressive runner, obviously. The two late guys we had come in from high school, Armani Weaver and Carmarius Bomar. If you haven't seen their tape yet, it's truly a sight to behold. Charmarius Bomar and Armani Weaver both have just the most stupid. Like, I'm surprised they're not more highly rated. Let me see if I got time real quick to show you. Let's see if I got time to show you something on one of those guys just really quick before we get off here. Because, dude, these kids can freaking fly. We'll do Armani Weaver really quick. I think that would be a fun one just to look at real fast. Let's see here. If I haven't shown you guys any of these kids yet, I should show you some, because whenever I did the videos on them committing to West Virginia, it was like, holy cow, truly just like speed demons. So let's see. All right. If I can find it, let's see. I think that's it right there. All right. So let me get it. All right. So here we go. Let me share screen with you guys really quick. We've only got about 3 or 4 minutes to do this, but I do want to get this in because I'm a sick tape freak. Now, this is obviously
with Gemini and Gmail, AI can help craft professional email replies based on the flow of your conversations.
This turned off.
Take the effort out of email.
Sorry about the
That's
volume. I'm
Google
not exactly
Workspace
sure
with
what's going
Gemini.
on at the moment. All right. So here we go. This is Armani Weaver, for those of you that don't know. And you want to talk about speed, guys. This kid he's got a Tavon Austin level of speed, but it's more than that. He's got the moves too. So look at this first move here. Here he is with the ball in his hands. Watch this cut he puts on old boy here. Boom. And there is another one. This kid look for him to make an impact early this year. I just don't know if they're going to play a younger guy. I don't know how Rich Rod is going to do it yet, but from a speed, and he's got so much talent. He really does. Like, he's one of the most talented kids we signed, and nobody's talking about it. I don't know why either. But I mean, you look at some of the stuff he does in the open field, it's truly disgusting. And then he's got 4.4 speed to pull away. Like, he does this all day long. This is in South Carolina. And the thing is, his teammate Carmarius Bomar is equally as impressive. So both of these freshmen are extremely good. That's him playing corner. So, doing a little bit of everything. And the thing is like, there was a tough decision for the staff on both players, whether or not they were going to play him at receiver or corner. Honestly, I thought Bomar's tape was just as good as wide receiver as corner, but little stop and go action, and he beat him bad. Gone. Yeah, he's got a lot of talent though, man. And so if you haven't had a chance to see this kid yet, here he is. Really good player. I think they're both under 6 feet tall. I have to go make sure, but they're super fast, super wiggly. These are exactly the kind of players that Rich Rod goes after. So not a huge surprise there. The camera guy can't even keep up with him. Try to watch 1 or 2 more so you can get a feel for it. There he is. You can just tell. I say it all the time. You can tell by how somebody moves. Way down deep. There's a high point ball for you. Pretty impressive. Trying to see some more of these open field ones, because I wanted you guys to get a better feel for the kind of open field athlete he is, because he cuts in and out. He does all kinds of stuff. And look at the smarts. He's making a call right here to the quarterback. He's got a signal here. He's one-on-one. That's probably what it was. One-on-one coverage, and the quarterback goes right to it. And watch him. He runs right by the kid. Just watch that really quick. For a high school player, do you see this very often? So let's go back one couple seconds here. Watch the signal. Patting his belly, patting his belly. The quarterback sees it, nods his head. He's in the gun. The snap comes back, and he runs completely by the kid for a touchdown. That to me shows intelligence. I mean, sure, was it easy? Was he maybe it was just single coverage, but maybe he read the coverage, So there's a lot to it. Here he is on defense. Hopefully, we'll get to see some more of that open field speed on this play because I'm a big fan of the kid. Obviously, this is him tackling somebody. Okay, so we saw enough, I guess. But certainly, we'll watch this one more. I think this is going to be a kid to watch in this offense, and in that Jock Sanders, Darius Raynaud kind of role, one of those players that you can give it to that can really move and wiggle. And I'm excited to see what he looks like. So definitely keep your eye on him as well this year. But overall, guys, we started this video talking about the quarterback battle from the Pete Thamel thing where he said, hey, look, Nico's going to be a great quarterback this year, starting quarterback this year, to all the things these players have said to me. I think that for now, I give Nicco Marchiol the edge, but I'm not counting Jaylen out of this race. And I could see a path to both being very good players. I'm not rooting against Nicco. I think a lot of people think that, but I'm not. It's just that I believe in Jaylen a lot too. And I just want, whenever I look at the tape, I mean, I have to just pick who I think is the better player, right? And I think that as a runner, I think Jaylen would be better in this offense. But if Nicco goes out and proves me wrong, before West Virginia won 9 games with Garrett at quarterback, I criticized him in 2022, that year on this show. And a lot of people in here will remember I came on and said I was dead wrong. I was dead wrong about Garrett Green, and I'm here to eat crow. I'll do the same thing in this case. If Nicco ends up being like a special player or something, I'll get on here and eat crow all day long. But if I'm right, I'm going to get on here and say I was right too. So that's just how it rolls, guys. Hope you enjoyed your weekend up till now, and hope you enjoy the rest of it. If you can, before you go, since we got 500 or 600 of you in here, like the video before you leave. Subscribe to the channel if you're new around here. I love talking about West Virginia football. I love talking about West Virginia basketball. And I love talking about West Virginia in general as a state. So proud to be from there, proud to represent it in some fashion. And yes, my hat is the hat choice for the day. So I see a lot of people talking about that too. All right, guys, I ain't got much else for you. I hope you guys have a good one, and I'll see you guys tomorrow. Thanks for making Locked On West Virginia your first listen, where we go 7 days a week here, by the way. I'm going to have to take a day off soon, but generally speaking, we do 7 days a week here. I'll see you guys tomorrow. Have a great one. I'm out of here.